We might as well get started, Steve. How you doing this evening, man? How's your Sunday been?
Hey, doing well, man. I'm excited to talk about The Siege, episode 4, The Siege. Pretty exciting stuff that happens. How about yourself, Kenny? How's this week?
We have a little bit of a chop, Steve, as you already know, and anybody that might be joining us. So Steve and I are trying to pause back and forth because we are discussing a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and there are going to be bandwidth issues whenever you're traveling great distances of time and space. So we're not going to blame it on our internet. We're going to blame it on um, just the realities of distortion of spatial time continuums. Steve, I'm doing great. My wife and I went on a Christmas tree hunt this afternoon, and we went to 3 different places and just ended up getting one from the one we got the same place last year. Our Christmas tree is in place and not decorated, but it just felt right to do Christmas early this year. And I got the sweater on. Got the Christmas tree sweater on.
Your your sweater your sweater looks fantastic with the deck there at the top and all kinds of different imperial attire that's there. So this episode, right from we gotta revisit some first season characters and get to find out what they're doing. Sounds like as we discussed last episode, the Razor Crest is not doing so well, and they kind of allude to that need some serious repairs. So they're heading back to the planet of Navarro. Get there, even be after the recap and before the credit scenes. I want to leave there in the Empire or outside of the Empire in Star Wars world. Seems like there's not. We first see the child and the Mandalorian, and a sequence where that leads to no the red plug, no the blue plug. We can see that there's still a communication gap there, and you can see it coming that somebody's going to get electrocuted, and that's what concerns me about the child labor laws. I'll find some other issues that I don't know that are quite meeting OSHA requirements also later in the episode as we go on. But that was one of my first thoughts that came to mind.
No, that's good, man. I love the interaction between Mando and the child through this. It's this little picture, this little window. You know, he leverages the compact size of Baby Yoda to get into the innards of the ship. Yeah, and the coos that the baby makes, it's like, ooh, ooh. And you just know that there is going to be electric shock therapy, at least visually. That's what it felt like to me. And he doesn't seem to be too worried about the child. He's more concerned about the ship, and the child is able to survive electrocution. And we move on with mild disappointment from the Mandalorian. But it's a fun little scene between them.
Yeah, and but at that one point, who hasn't been like, oh, my kid could probably fit in there, but then there is that gap of like, no, like don't put it back go back into the same spot. That's what didn't work. They're still missing some of those connections there. About our connection, and it made me think of, we get to see Dr. Pershing, who is the doctor in a scene later in this episode, and it's kind of like in all those HoloNets and all the Star Wars things. I feel blessed that even the poor connection that we have, we still get to see more of each other, and we come through with better in this galaxy far, far away. Was one thought. So,
I like what you did there.
I'm going to choose an attitude about it. So then we get we're heading to Navarro, and we're limping into Navarro. We're in a bad spot, and by the time he lands, he does stick the landing this time. There is no water to land in, because it sounds like since we've last left the planet of Navarro, I think it's Karga. It's Geet Karga, Carl Weathers' character. He is. It looks like he's. I guess I skipped a scene. We see these guys that look very similar to, at least one of them looks very similar to in a cantina that we are all very familiar with. and there's a group of 4 in it. They're their goods after they've run some sort of heist. In addition to like a ferret type of animal, to also like it's time for celebration. And this thing is about ready to have its head chopped off. We don't completely. Here comes Cara Dune, which we don't know if she's good, bad, and different. Last week, she's not a freelancer. She comes in there and takes down. It looked like there was 4 of us that got taken down. Did you have any thoughts on the fight scene? I thought it was pretty fantastic.
Well, the fight was great. I was into it. When she goes into action, this lady knows her business. She's going to take care of it. Those guys didn't stand a chance. I love her, shielding techniques with the fireman carry over the shoulder, and we'll just use this guy to deflect the blaster bolts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty great. What I didn't like about this scene was these. I don't know what species these characters are, but their faces remind me of the backside of a baboon, but it's like their mouth, and they make these grunting sounds, and they're kind of buffoons, and they seem to be really simple, and they look like the worst thrown together Star Wars costumes that they just put on the shoulders of some guys and said, just kind of wing it. I felt like one of their heads was going to come flying off, and we were going to see an extra at any moment in the middle of this fight. And so these guys, they just elicited this reaction from me of just not liking them, and that probably again reveals some type of implicit bias on my part. But they're bad guys. The fact that they've turned the former layer of the Mandalorian Beskar Smith into a den of thieves and wet market is not something that I condone. It's just not.
Well, and it's clearly is like back in '77 when they made Star Wars and they had kind of unique aliens. This is one that I did not foresee them saying, what would make this and we'll just go with it. Let's have 4 of them in a row.
That'll make it better or
okay.
worse.
That's this. We're sticking with it. We're our story. yeah. And then we'll have them beat up, and then we're starting to see a transformation. I think in Cara, she's looking out after the little guy. Now, the other thing we're going to do with the little weasel, the relative size of those guys, was that actually going to feed them? That didn't seem like it would be like much of a meal for the 4 of them.
It seemed more like,
especially if they've just pulled off this guy.
Yeah, it seemed more like an act of enjoyed cruelty. And frankly, I was glad to see her kick their butt.
Yeah.
Faces, pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
Cheesy joke.
So it was awesome to see her take.
The delay does not make my bad jokes any better.
Hey,
I will just say that right now.
I appreciate them.
Thank you, Steve.
Then we come to find out after he leaves, we find out that she wasn't just robbing from other crooks. She is actually now the marshal, and she's straightening up the streets of Bar. And that before very long, we find out that she's the one that's best to this town. And Carl Weathers' character, I think it's Karga, is all business. But he wants the whole planet to be free and independent because I think he has a shipping port. And of course, he's pretty well situated to make some money off of that. Is almost as the story lays out. They land, and if his credit's good enough to fix his ship, and we were ready for the Calamari makeover to be over. Like no more paracord, no more netting in the Razor Crest. It's not a good one. So, but part of his crew seems to be a little shady. They did a real job of making one of the characters look a little suspicious. Like, not much up on that?
Kinda. Unpack it.
Well, just the way they panned in, and once again, it seems like a stopwatch that you can put until there's somebody that they pan to, and that person inevitably going to is like selling the information that, okay, this is the Mandalorian with the child, and that is a commodity that has been cashed in on multiple different episodes. If
No, it's interesting because I didn't really pick up on there being an informant somewhere in there until the very end of the episode when the Empire goons are talking to each other. And so I have to go back and look at that because I was wondering, okay, who's the weasel? Who's the mole in their midst?
Yeah, they end up meeting back with Mithril. This is a character that I guess, kind of the shady characters that not everything can be adorable. But you almost have to chat with Mithril. Always working an angle. And we find more about his backstory, that him have a history, and that's who he's actually working his debt off to. And this, of course, is the guy that had a bounty on him in the very first episode of season 1. And it was a fantastic job of you pointing out to me the actor who plays him. And I was like, oh, I had wondered what he had done with the last Saturday Night Live.
I didn't see that coming.
I also like that they carried on the information and how that might affect different individuals, be it them being with that was alluded to. I was like, oh, yeah, carbonite is not something you use without there being a cost.
I like that part. I still can't see out of my left eye. Chuckled out loud. But Steve, you've skipped over a scene. You've skipped over the scene where Baby Yoda goes to school.
Okay. Yeah. So before he gets stuff laid out, yeah, we have Baby Yoda that gets they're trying to clean up the place, and this is what you're going to be surprised with. And of course, Mando was not a fan of being with others and in their care, but I thought it was beautiful how they set it up. I want to say that was an episode, the last episode of the previous season. It was the bar that was shot completely up that they were in as the school.
Right.
Okay. So then what I thought was classic about it is that, of course, in any learning environment, if you want to get buy-in and have kids understand what is boring, you put up at the front of the class a protocol droid.
Right.
Okay. A protocol droid is going to bore the heck out of it, but they will convey a lot of useless, a lot of information. And these poor kids. So like I can see like saying, yeah, so it used to be a cantina and now it's a den of torture for adolescents, where certain kids get to have cookies in class and are bullied, which I wonder about. Don't they that bounce back and forth as far as the or why don't you speak to the cookie team and Baby Yoda making friends?
Yeah, I noticed that this is the first time we've seen Baby Yoda use the Force in a number of episodes. And what does he choose to use his special powers that deplete his reserves? He's going to use that on acquiring a new delicacy that he can shove down his gullet. And to me, they look like some type of blue macaroon. And this kid is sitting in class eating these things. He hasn't really brought enough to share with everybody else. This doesn't bother Baby Yoda. He is fixated, target acquired, and force engaged. So when eater of the blue macaroons and unsharer of such sweet goodies is looking the other way, all of a sudden, these silver-sleeved blue yummies go floating over to Baby Yoda, and he begins to consume. By this, I am not surprised. He is obviously holding out in the most dangerous situations that we've seen up to this point in the previous episode. Where was the Force when the spider minions were attacking? You know, where was the Force when they're being chased by the X-Wings? Where's the Force in all these dangerous situations? No, we're going to use it when it's snack time. I see what the priorities of Baby Yoda are, and this little youngling is definitely ruled by his appetite.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I thought it was, if next time you watch the episode, or those that watch the episode, look at the concept art. And in the classroom, you'll see that the cookies are brown. What I believe is that those cookies, they had to be that bright color that they were to make the scene and the onboard maintenance at the end of the episode, like pop. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if there was brown crackers, it doesn't quite have the same look. And
no, it doesn't. they almost look like
And
they
so
could be
it's pretty
radioactive.
fantastic. Clearly,
You
he
know,
was asking.
they may have a
I've
half-life.
extended my. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he clearly, the kid says no. You know,
Yeah.
and I guess there's much to do because not only is this kid's not sharing cookies with the new kid in class, he's one of the other kids that laughed at that into class, and. And as I pointed out before, I think it's interesting how, in the most boring way, the program, okay, let's get it together, but then goes right back into a droning monotone voice for kids with knowledge about the outer rim. So we're on Navarro, and we've got our two allies. They've got and they've identified. Like what could be the last obstacle could become a great a shipping port, a shipping planet, right?
Yep.
And it's just this, once again, another episode where poorly informed about number of troops and what actually is going on at this Empire episodes in a row, where like the intelligence for that is. It's amazing how inaccurate it is once again. Okay. So they hop in the Mithril, so the blue guild creatures, Peter, and they're headed out. Once again, I guess the most efficient way to get to travel through a canyon. So after our discussion in previous episodes, I think this is a place where there could be problems in the future, and you could get ambushed here. Don't get ambushed, but they make it to this Imperial base on the other side, which they think is just stuff that they don't want people from the black market to get to. Their plan is just to blow this base up. The exterior door and their ride, the Mithril, he did something like 350 years of service to Karga, and if he drives there, and he can earn 100 years off. So I'm like, this almost sounds like this is a common thing, because he ends up negotiating years off by the end of this mission here. I wonder if he'll get compensated for his ride at a later time. Yes. So they drive out there. And the entry into the place seems to go pretty well. Like they are able to identify the panel that they're trying to get in through. It's not going to work. So Mando jetpacks up. You get to see and hear sort of a pseudo Wilhelm. Are you familiar with the sound effect Wilhelm of when someone's falling off of something that they often use? Yeah, exactly. So we get to see some. Yeah. So Mando they end up all going into the facility, which is a good thing, because the Mithril, I think he's more of an accountant type slasher. And what's amazing is that they're able to get to like the core portion of any of these Empire bases blows me away. Like
Right.
in no time at all. In episode 4, is able to get to the main power generator, like side and turn and deactivate the thing. Here they're at the precipice looking over this lava, and Miro points out, like, there's no guard wires. So once again, I want to bring up, there is a lack of safety concern for employees. Okay, as much as we live in this day and age where people are trying to trying to recruit you to work at an Amazon shipping center or to go and work at Target, and safety that they built into that. Empire, not so big on safety, clearly, because there's no guardrail access to this big lava pit that could consume people. Of course, they're able to achieve what they need to do as far as like, oh, okay, it seems like if you and me were ever to invade an Imperial location, relatively shortly, we would be able to flip a couple of switches and get it to overheat in what is approximately 10 minutes or so.
Right.
And then that's when you know the episode is going to begin. Okay. And the clock's really not ticking until then, you know. Of course, into some troopers on the way out, which I always think it's fantastic that I like it that my troopers to yell out and to speak loudly as I approach corners, because it really does to know, oh, you know, 4578 and 458 are right around the corner there, and they're having to run forward. Yeah, so I do appreciate. Any thoughts of the portions that I've covered so far?
Yes, so many thoughts. Thought number one, This is the best use that we have seen of Mando's jetpack up to this point. Dude is mastering the Rising Phoenix, and it coincides. The use of the jetpack coincides with the first of many falling stormtroopers from a great height in this episode. This one being the first outside when they're at the lava door, and then the second one being later on into the lava pit when they're near the core. And later on he runs and jumps and engages his jetpack and cruises out over the lava into the next level. I absolutely love that. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I'm like, this guy, he is getting his gear together. Like, I don't know when he's had time to practice this stuff, but he is mastering the craft of the Rising Phoenix. I did notice the missing guardrails. This seems definitely to be a theme in the Star Wars universe, and going all the way back to Episode 4 with A New Hope. It seems to be a theme not only on the large ships of the Empire, but also on the Death Star, and also on Bespin in Empire Strikes Back. It seems to be an issue in the Return of the Jedi. I mean, it's just, I don't know why they don't build in. Maybe they only want authorized personnel who have some type of safety harness gear that are accessing these panels and these ports. And so people that aren't like latched in should not be adventuring out on these ledges where you're either going to fall to your death, you're going to fall into space, or you're going to fall into lava. But I did very unfortunately, I really enjoyed the stormtroopers falling from the sky. It's raining troopers. It puts a whole definition, a new definition on drop trooper. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a drop trooper. Yeah, I like that.
And one more thing, Steve, just to wrap up my reflection. This might be my only like spiritual connection point insight of the episode. Not that other ones couldn't be teased out, but it took me a couple times watching for something to kind of emerge that I thought, okay, this is something that I could, if I was going to take this and I was going to turn it into a little video lesson or a practical application for the Christian life, what could we get? And it comes with the Mithril. This guy, he's like, it's like you like to not like him. I like it that he's kind of a weenie. He's kind of a wussy, you know? He doesn't seem to be really good at anything, but they keep bringing him along. And so I was wondering, so he's the driver. Okay, but he's kind of the cowardly lion, you know, that needs to find his courage. He's always trying to get out of a situation before he can smell trouble coming. He's trying to get out of it before it begins. But did you notice in this episode, anytime that there's some type of technical obstacle when it comes to like the interface of a panel, you know, above the lava, or when they need to access files or whatever, he is their go-to guy. Like, he knows his way around a computer board. He can just jump in and kind of figure it out. So I don't know if that is particular to his species, or just he as an individual has some prior type of, you know, technical training or apprenticeship, or in a former life before he was a wanted criminal and blue indentured servant from embezzling, you know, untold amounts of credits. He's found his niche, whether he's identified it or not. Like, why are they keeping him around? He's good at some stuff. And here's my spiritual connection. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have spiritual gifts that can be utilized to help others and to help the church. And so to be the church, we need people to practice their spiritual gifts, whatever they might be. His is in the technical service side. They give him a hard time, but I feel like they kind of like him too. They're not just like disassociating with him. They keep giving him a chance. They keep trusting him with something. They keep giving him an opportunity. And I think there's some things to be said here about not throwing away relationships, helping people discover their gifts, putting them in situations so that they can live their best life, both within the church and with the community. and trusting people with things that matter so that they have a place of significance and importance in community where others are relying upon them, and they are able to do the one thing that they're really good at, and they can shine. And so he has these shining moments in the episode, but it's not in the middle of a blaster fight. It's not in the middle of evasive maneuvers in a way over armored troop cruiser. Okay, whatever that thing was called, it was really, really cool, and I can't believe it survived the landing. But good thing his speeder was there to break the fall. Back to you.
I totally feel to break the fall, and that like all like cartoon logic was used. It was like, oh, it could have been a really rough landing, right on the right spot. That there was a hovering
Classic Looney Tunes
speeder there. I do. He is kind of he is very much knucklehead. Okay,
Yeah,
he they know he's scheming. They know he's out for just himself. He's their schemer. And he's their guy that it was cute, like fire upside down at one point in the episode. I do remember Kara like lowering his head as the blaster bolts are heading that way. But he is the one that, as they tell the story, is pointing out, oh, you know what I could get for that on the black market? And I'm like, that's beautiful how they're laying out a place. That is how they are leaving that docking bay. He's just really, he has moments where they wouldn't have been successful if they didn't have their rookie guy, you know, and that is beautiful, and the value that is brought there. What else do I have to say? Like, again, a fantastic fight. They've set this 10-minute timer, and
right. But we need to back up a second because they've discovered the purpose of this base with a skeleton crew.
Oh, we got to talk about the tanks. We got to talk about that. This is not just.
Yeah, I want to speculate together on what we think is happening there and the connection with the blood from the child, because I'll just lead in with this. What it looks to me like some type of cloning operation, but it's not quite. It's humanoid, but they almost remind me of some of the creatures that we see in some of the later movies that have some Sithy leanings.
There's actually a lot of theories that have come out in the last couple of days. One of our mutual friends sent me a link, like a little bit deeper dive, and as they were pointing out that they maybe have in one episode better explained like the origins of Snoke and what I mean with in the process of trying to.
This might be my only like spiritual connection point insight of the episode. Not that other ones couldn't be teased out, but it took me a couple times watching for something to kind of emerge that I thought, okay, this is something that I could, if I was going to take this and I was going to turn it into a little video lesson or a practical application for the Christian life, what could we get?
Find a body that was worthwhile to Palpatine. So there's some stuff out there, and but you know, because it was kind of sloppily done in episode 8 and 9, it was, and where he came from and what the connection was. I think it clearly that they established, you know, Dr. Pershing confirms that that's why they had the child, is they were using his blood, and they didn't. What I really appreciate about Dr. Pershing, and I think it will come back, he didn't want to harm the child. He only wanted to harvest enough blood with. I can't. Maybe you can help me refer to something with a high M count. What would that be?
Midas. What is that word? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, maybe.
Sounds like
but
chlorine.
I do appreciate that. And we've also, I think it sounds like. And then that Moff Gideon.
This might be my only like spiritual connection point insight of the episode. Not that other ones couldn't be teased out, but it took me a couple times watching for something to kind of emerge that I thought, okay, this is something that I could, if I was going to take this and I was going to turn it into a little video lesson or a practical application for the Christian life, what could we get?
That they've confirmed that that he is alive. He's alive. And so what else stood out? That's a pretty big reveal.
Repeat that again, though, what you think the big reveal is.
The tanks, the tanks, and that this was not just some excess. They're not a bunch of black market old supplies, although they had a good number
Right.
of speeders, which are stand during the canyon as they're escaping in the canyon. Why they didn't like bury a rope to knock them off of their speeders, just like Mando had happened to him.
Well, this is another time when there's
looked like
falling.
they had some of the
but they intentionally fall on their speeders, which is kind of cool. It's like they know what these bikes are capable of, but then once they get out on the rocks, it's game over. Like these guys aren't going to make it through, and every trooper for himself.
Yeah. I also thought it was pretty fantastic during the chase scene that there's always a part of, and I harken back to episode 4, where Carl Weathers' character is the targeting. He's decided to not be the driver. He's going to be the gunner. And targeting stuff. One of the things that I remember back, Luke hopping into the gunner's seat and having to learn about this, how to work the targeting and stuff. And I thought it made me like, this is Star Wars. This is fantastic.
Just pick it up
and know how to kill people. And before, where's he at? Then like, oh, well, how about I rotate my turret 180 degrees and hey, we're gonna see a white bucket floating down the canyon real soon. Yeah, and then all is lost. They've got now it's not just guys on speeder, but just squadron of TIE fighters, and these look like the advanced TIE fighters.
Yeah, their wings were really
the
cool.
way they also look like these guys had really. If you've ever read any of the Thrawn series of books, his Imperial leader, a general, and he was working towards developing a new type of fighter, missed one, but he was the funding for his project was in direct conflict with the Death Star. So I guess you could still develop that kind of stuff, and you have those plans, but you'll be able to greenlight them until later. So.
Who's the star of these scenes? Like when the TIE fighters show up,
when all
lost.
What are they going to do now?
That's right. Take us there.
They get to all is lost, and they're like, they've gotten out of the canyon. There's no way that we're going to be able to knock down canyon walls and we're out in the open. And when all is lost, who comes in at that point? There you go. So I'm trying to like coordinate, like Mando, that jetpack. He checked out the keys from the garage. He got signed off that the Razor Crest is good to go, and then he puts it through some real aggressive tests as he's right back in. The fact that we find some admiration for the Razor Crest, because it looked like it's old Imperial excess salvage from back in the day, but it can hold its own.
Right. Oh yeah.
I was impressed.
I was too. This was the pimp my ride that I was waiting for. Like this thing is shining and catching the solar rays, and it's making these maneuvers that are just like impossible. And Mando obviously has some flight time under his belt, not just limping through space and whatever leftover spacecraft he can get his bounty hunter hands on. And it was fun. It was flipping fun to see him just cruising and swirling and making those stall moves and dropping in. And then we keep getting these snapshots of Baby Yoda, of the child in seat, blue macarons in hand. He is enjoying this amusement park ride, and I really hope that the Disney, when they open their theme parks again, that there's going to be a Razor Crest. That's one ride I'm definitely going to go on. Buying those tickets.
Well, that's one, which I assume they are. Anyone from Disney and Star Wars is tuning in or watches this later time. I assume next time I go to Galaxy's Edge, I will be able to consume blue macaron, and then it will be actually one of the only foods that's encouraged prior to taking a ride to a reenactment of, and that's why I think they're blue, is because if they were brown, they put this little outfit that he's got. But the blue, it popped.
It did. For real.
It pops. Mando is not big on he's not big on and says like hold on when I'm driving around aggressively or he just goes into it. Just that all disclaimers are like, dude, you're riding around with me. You're not strapped in. Whoever tried to strap in because the straps don't fit you.
Oh, it was fantastic stuff. I love the little fun little hands in the air. And you're seeing the amazing maneuvers, but you're seeing the child really enjoy the ride. And then at the end of the day, he wins the day. The Razor Crest is the MVP. And he gets comped for all the work, which I'm sure working on a spacecraft is a lot more expensive on an hourly basis than my mechanic. And I know how much my mechanic gets paid. But there is a consequence to this when you turn over your ride to some, techs that you may or may not have vetted. You may have a transponder that's secretly embedded on your ship, and now those that you wish were not tracking you know exactly where you're at, and you're leading them somewhere. They have some type of dark plot to let him go, because there's this feeling of they're just lurking in the background somewhere, and he's just being used to facilitate their greater wicked schemes.
I feel like it was to use the euphemism. I've got to do some like what did he say? It's like preventive maintenance.
Some onboard maintenance or something
Or I've
like
got
that.
some onboard stuff. I don't have to have a drink. Yeah. I as a bounty hunter, I hope part of his normal protocols are to scan substances. I hope that's something that he's integrated. We'll see.
Apparently not. And he's left his transponder on because our X-Wing friends are back. And I found out that actor he's actually a well-known Canadian actor. And Canadians love it that there's this guy that's on a TV show that's pretty popular in Canada. And he's got this role as an X-Wing fighter in the previous episode. And in this episode, he makes another cameo of, he's trying to be this greater peacekeeper, but they're really not appreciating his prying into their business. And we're out here on the Outer Rim anyway. So what are you going to do about it? And there's these half-truths that kind of happened there at the end about, was the Razor Crest here? Was transponder was on, which is funny because it's like he didn't want to turn on his transponder and his ship was just a hunk of junk. Now I think he could give those X-Wings a run for their money. Like, let's go back to the Spider Planet and do that over again.
You mentioned. Well, I guess, and I will nominate as the most predictable line of he sets up the most predictable episode when he finds out that Cara Dune is from from Alderaan because he's been reading up on her, and he sets it up on a tee by saying,
"Oh man."
And everybody knows. I couldn't withhold from saying it to my daughter we were watching. She's gonna say, "I lost everyone."
And I found that surprising, knowing
there it was. I lost everyone.
I just really found that surprising because just being known for politeness and not wanting to ask questions that may make other people feel awkward or tragically sad. Like, it's a very sad moment where he pries into her business and goes, "Oh, you were serving you that time? Well, did you lose anyone? Do you remember the planet blew up? Like, she just said that she was from there. What are the chances that it was everyone?" And then he doesn't go. He doesn't do the obligatory, "Oh, sorry, eh?" He goes, "Oh, well, yeah, okay, well, see you later, and we could really use you, and here's a sheriff's badge if you'd like it."
Yeah, exactly. It was, maybe that's why he took the role. Maybe it was because he's
got no feel.
He gets to be very like how he actually would want to do things.
Maybe. No, I like him though. I like he's all business and on point.
Wouldn't have been just said, "No, we knew it was coming. We got our whole family off Alderaan."
Yeah,
we just decided not to share that information with anyone else.
That'd have been messed up, man. That'd have been messed up. Well, this is getting us to the last. This is
been a severe left turn
to the last scene, where we see Moff Gideon revealed again, and I'm interested in your speculation. We see another room where you have some type of body armor, some type of powered suits that are lined up, and I don't know if those are creatures inside them or there's some type of super trooper. You know, the Empire has always given off this space Nazi type of vibe, and Moff Gideon not only has his like shock troopers that are lined up on the wall there, which is what they look like to me. Maybe these things from the tubes and the lava base are going to go inside these things. Maybe it's a separate R&D project. Who knows? But each time I see Moff Gideon, just his name in two parts kind of sounds like a Darth Vader, even though it's not Sithy as far as Moff Gideon goes. But he's wearing like a chest plate that looks like it's like foreshadowing that he is going to be kind of coming into some role within the Sith middle management at the very least.
Yeah, and we also know that he's the one that currently is possessing the dark saber, which I thought it was like I was incorrect. It is some sort of it was a saber that was stolen in the Jedi Temple by, I guess, a Mandalorian.
Interesting.
Many years ago in the Old Republic, based on one of the fandoms. So yeah,
gotcha. That's
but yeah, he definitely has the same look as Vader, but not as many words.
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably got, he's obviously got more of his limbs still attached to his body and not mechanically augmented.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
yeah, complexion a lot. I mean, if we were going to do a comparison between him and Darth Vader, his complexion's much better.
Oh yeah.
Than Vader, based on like lava exposure. And of all the people, like one of your main characters, Angela, and you can't put a guardrail near the edge of other like lava. Like I would have thought that like Darth Vader or Anakin at one point would have advocated for, we really should have some guardrails near the lava pits. I've had firsthand experience of being on a lava planet, and it's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. But Steve,
I'm okay
let me make
turn off our power plants or override them. But
let me give a little bit of pushback on the handrail here, okay? You may remember back at Lava Base, there's a firefight that breaks out, and there is a trooper standing well within a guardrail. There is a guardrail installed, and this trooper is shot, and he falls over the top of the guardrail and into the lava. So maybe what they've come to realize through their many skirmishes, guardrail or no guardrail, the troopers are going to hit the floor, and you know what? We're going to put that money into the R&D of Sith and super powered space troopers to fulfill all of our space Nazi-ish type dreams for domination of the galaxy and beyond. And frankly, I believe that they should be stopped.
Yeah. Well, I think you're probably onto something. Before the end of the podcast, I do want to move to the PSA that the child is giving there.
Thank you, child. I mask in public.
The mask does go. So, yeah. Well, yeah.
Wear one over your face, but not over your heart.
Yeah.
And Steve, I'd like to ask you as we wrap up here, do you have any spiritual connection points? This episode, we don't hear anything about the creed. We don't hear "this is the way." No one gives that "I have spoken" kind of moment. The only time that we're aware of the quest, besides this mini kind of side mission, once again, Mando gets sucked into this kind of side mission thing with his friends, right? Old friends, which is fun to bring them back. But he even says at the beginning, I finally know where to take you, or at the end, I finally know where to take you of the last episode. In the beginning of this episode, he needs to get the ship fixed in order to continue the quest. So at the end of the episode, it picks up from there, and he's continuing on the quest to get to the trials of the Jedi, and he knows where to take him. And now he's in his sweet, sleek, razor crest. Here we go. What in the world's going to happen in the next episode? And what is that going to be? Is that going to be chapter 13? Oh, someone's filing for bankruptcy.
So, yeah. Well, I think that I thought that it was a very informative episode for Cara Dune. That she.
This might be my only like spiritual connection point insight of the episode. Not that other ones couldn't be teased out, but it took me a couple times watching for something to kind of emerge that I thought, okay, this is something that I could, if I was going to take this and I was going to turn it into a little video lesson or a practical application for the Christian life, what could we get?
She is trying to be the best, and she knows that. I think when the Alliance is trying to recruit her, the New Republic is trying to recruit her. She knows that like she would feel he's letting down the locals and where she's felt she's been called to her mission field or what her calling is. So I was encouraged by her being the best version of herself.
I like that. And underlying, Mando is still living by his creed. He's helping his friends. He's given people a second chance. Stories of redemption continue for both Kara, for both Carl's role, for the Myth role. Like these bands of ragtag rogues are thrown in on a mission that's helping a greater good, and they're no longer surfing kind of these seedy alleyways of just make it through life any way we can, but they're there, like you said, to invest into their community, to remake their community, for the community to prosper and to finally bring peace, as they talk about, to the planet. And so they're living into a purpose that's well beyond themselves. This might be my only like spiritual connection point insight of the episode. Not that other ones couldn't be teased out, but it took me a couple times watching for something to kind of emerge that I thought, okay, this is something that I could, if I was going to take this and I was going to turn it into a little video lesson or a practical application for the Christian life, what could we get?
Yeah, it seems like they're being there for the good.
Yeah, man. Well, I think this brings us to this is the way.
This is the way.
All right, last chance. Any parting thoughts, or are we good for now?
Good.
All right, brother. I can't wait to connect next week and see what this next episode is going to bring.
I'm excited also. See you then.
See you, man. Bye.